Times this spring, the Cardinals have been all smiles. A record of 10-4-3. Will the winning ways continue today as the Redbirds welcome Houston to town? Baseball is coming up. This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. It's spring training 2017. And this afternoon, it's another gorgeous day from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida, as the St. Louis Cardinals play host to the Houston Astros. And welcome to baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. That's Al Hrabosky. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Great to have you with us. Jose Martinez is in the lineup today for the Cardinals. He's been impressive here in this camp.
Really has been. He's hitting for a high average. He leads the ball club in home runs and RBIs. And we found out this spring he can play a little first base. So he's an outfielder, and earlier in his career, he could really run. He's had a serious knee injury. Maybe that kept him in minor leagues, but he doesn't look like a minor leaguer anymore.
Very good off the bench at the tail end of last year. He's in the lineup today. Michael Wacha will get the start for the Cardinals. He also has been impressive in this camp. Houston, St. Louis coming up. Battling the flu, still not over it, but able to be in camp here today. Missed the last couple of games. And a couple of ties for the Cardinals. St. Louis comes in at 10-4-3 this spring. The Astros are 5-8-2. Well, we always hear about the dog days of summer. We're starting to get to the dog days of spring training right now.
Danny, you really do go through a couple different phases. And you come down here, all of a sudden before the games play, usually you're in camp, full roster for 10 days. Then you can look forward to the game starting. Then, as you say, about this time, you're bored. You want to get the season started. And yet you still know there's plenty of time down here and you can't get too excited. But then that final week, you're really dying to get the season going.
So look at A.J. Hinch. They were 84 and 78 a year ago. The Kia batting order for Houston: Springer, outstanding player, then Moran, Geddes, Reed, then Davis, Kemmer, Marisnik, Brignac, and Kemp, who's an outfielder and second baseman. He'll be at second base today. So that's a look at your Kia batting order. And your Chevrolet starter is Michael Wacha. So Wacha has had a very good spring thus far. He had 27 appearances a year ago. 24 of those were starts, as he finished up at 7-7. You would love to see this carry over to the regular season. What we've seen so far, it's always a matter of health with him and just how deep he can go into a season and keep that health going.
Absolutely right, and it's off to a very good spring. This will be his fourth start. He's 2-0 and a 0 ERA. What we've really noticed is his ability to get up on top and throw on a downward plane. When he does that, you know, then it's really hard to center the ball. If he doesn't throw on a downward plane, it flattens out and he's hittable.
So Michael Wacha gets the call here this afternoon. Right now it is beautiful here at Roger Dean Stadium. There is rain in the forecast. As we go around the horn, defense presented by Dobbs. Pham, Fowler, Sierra in the outfield. Peralta, Greg Garcia on the left side of the infield. Jerko Martinez on the right side. And Carson Kelly is behind the plate. George Springer leads it off. He had 29 home runs a year ago. He struck out a lot, and yet he had an on-base percentage of .359, which was 19th best in the American League. And the first pitch is taken for a ball, and we are underway.
Astros really do have a nice nucleus of young players.
There's a downward plane again, but a little too far down. 2 balls and no strikes.
See the 82 RBIs from a leadoff man. Not bad at all.
They have added Josh Reddick for their outfield. Carlos Beltran will play a little outfield as well as DH. That's hit to short. Greg Garcia, one away. I think the Astros could be dangerous this year.
In 15, they were a surprise team going to the postseason, maybe a little ahead of schedule. Last year, they were disappointing and missing the playoffs. But you talked about Carlos Beltran. You know, I think they're glad to have him back, but their DHs were horrible last year. So there's a real need for Carlos, and I think at about 39 years of age, they'll get the most out of him.
Here's the first pitch to Colin Moran, and it's a strike. Moran, you may recall, was the 6th overall pick by the Marlins in 2013 out of North Carolina. And then the next year, he was traded to Houston. And Houston felt in that draft he was the #1 choice. They felt he was that good of a player that dropped down to 6th. And he's still trying to put it all together now with Houston at the big league level. Here's a 1-1. Off the end of the bat and a foul ball into the Houston dugout.
AAA player, you know, so it really progressed through the system to get to AAA last year, knocking at the door now.
1 out, nobody on. We're just underway here in the top of the first. No score, Houston and St. Louis. And a late call and a strikeout of Colin Moran.
We were about ready to say, where is that pitch? As you said, the late call, but comes inside on it. You see there a good example of how he reaches, so releases the ball at such a high point. He's 6'6", and then to release the ball, it's about 8 foot going straight down.
Here's Evan Gattis. Every time I see Evan Gattis, I think of slow pitch softball, and this guy would be a star.
He had 32 home runs last year, and I thought, what a perfect fit with that short left field porch.
Now, this is one way to speed up the game. Gattis is yet to step out of the batter's box. Just stays right in there.
Remember, he had the emphasis. That was the way it's supposed to be.
Hits head down the left field line and pulls it foul.
And Dan, even with the foul ball, that's where you see a lot of guys come out, reset themselves. He just took a step back, but his right foot's right exact spot that he's ready to hit right now.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Curveball taken high. We have noticed down here in spring training, and we were talking about it before the game, the strike zone, at least from the games we've done, has been very tight, really tight. And a lot of times a low strike has not been called, which has been an emphasis that they've talked about in the game today. There's Dexter Fowler out in center field, and he casually puts it away. A 1-2-3 first inning from Michael Walkout. Matheny's club, Dexter Fowler, then Greg Garcia and Johnny Peralta, followed by Steven Piscotty, the DH today, Jed Jerko, Martinez, Pham, Kelly, and Sierra. He's always smiling, and that's the leadoff man for the Cardinals, Dexter Fowler, and he will face Charlie Morton coming off an injury-plagued season. He's our Chevrolet starter for Houston.
Yeah, Charlie only made 4 starts with Philadelphia and tore a hamstring muscle off the bone, and now in the American League, ground ball specialist.
And the shift is on here for Dexter Fowler. Houston again more than likely will be in the top 2 or 3 of teams that shift defensively on their infield. So 3 on the right side, and J.D. Davis, the only Houston Astro on the left side of the infield. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fowler's had a good spring. He's hitting .444.
Has that ability to work the count. You're going to see him deep in the count all the time and not afraid to take walks.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
Led the National League in on-base percentage last year at .393. Always been amongst the leaders. And Cardinals could have 3 guys that are just get on base all the time ahead of the Thunder.
Breaking ball is taken inside. You watch Charlie Morton, you think Roy Halladay. A few years ago with Pittsburgh, he decided to change his delivery to mimic Halladay, the outstanding Philly and Toronto Blue Jay that since has retired. And he did it for 2 reasons. 1, to hide the baseball, and 2, he wanted more sink, trying to be more of a ground ball pitcher.
I think I saw something I don't often see. I think Fowler licked his bat.
Is that right?
That foul ball.
We see guys smell it sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen that, but
the 2-2.
But look at that ability. Those last 2 pitches have been inside and just almost in the catcher's glove, and he fouls a pitch off.
They say you burn wood. Well, in that particular case, he was licking the bat. That was 2 pitches ago, and there he's smelling the bat. Puts it in play. Slow roller to first and taken there by Colin Moran for out number 1. The Astros defensively around the horn is presented by Dobbs. Marisnik, Springer, and Kemmer in the outfield. Davis, Brignac, Kemp, and Moran along the infield. Evan Gattis is behind the plate. A.J. Hinch, one of those managers that really buys into sabermetrics. And it seems like every team now has some type of analytical department to try to break down what's happening with their team and trends across baseball. The ball got away from Gattis, and it's a strike on Greg Garcia. Whether you like it or not, analytics are a part of the game. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with them being a part of the game. But you can't have it be the only thing that drives your team.
Here's the 0-1.
Dan, you'll find the old baseball players or the old-time scouts will say, you know, those numbers tell you something, but the instincts of a baseball player, does he have that feel to where he knows what he's doing?
You know, good example of that, and we've been talking to a lot of the scouts down here, and that's what makes spring training fun for us, is to get a read on what we're seeing. And scouts have been raving about Paul DeJong down here in camp. He's had a very good camp for the Cardinals. 3-run homer yesterday. As Garcia hits it in the air out to center. Backing up with room, George Springer, and puts it away for the out. Really impressive home run yesterday for DeJong as he popped one, a 3-run shot into right center, opposite field of this ballpark. That's impressive.
And he's one of those first guys that this coaching staff will tell you about.
I mean, it's hard enough to hit home runs at this ballpark, and then you go opposite field.
Yeah, they say he has the most power of any of the young minor leaguers. Oh, no. And he displayed it there.
Here's Johnny Peralta. He has come into camp in very good shape, hitting .238, no home runs. He has driven in 5. And those are his numbers from an injury-plagued season a year ago.
Dan, when he did come back in the second half from that spring training thumb injury, you know, that thumb really was not healthy, and now it is, and I think he'll be back and be a real force offensively.
On a 2-0 pitch, chopped to third. It stays fair. J.D. Davis settles and throws, and it's picked by Moran. A 1-2-3 for Charlie Morton. Spring training baseball. It's back on Fox Sports Midwest. Keys to the game.
Well, we talked about Walker really throwing the ball well. This is his 4th start, but coming into this action only had total 8 innings. So we'd like to see him stretch out and get some innings. And then Mike Matheny, when you look at his lineup today, I see 4 guys in his lineup that are battling for the 5, 4 that are going to fill out the 5 of his bench guys. Jose Martinez, in my mind, he's made the team, but he's got to keep on doing it. Tommy Pham's on the bubble. Greg Garcia, guys like that. And Jerko, who hit 30 home runs, doesn't have a position.
Isn't that something?
But I think we're going to see him almost as a semi-regular, playing all 4 positions in the infield.
Here's A.J. Reed serving as the designated hitter. So Beltran primarily will be the DH for the Astros, and what they're going to do is play him in the outfield at home, and he'll play a lot of left field, which they could afford to do that with that short porch there. The 1-1. Good fastball. The gun has had Michael Walker down here around 93 to 95 consistently. The 1-2 pitch. Curveball, and he struck him out. Second strikeout for the Cardinals right-hander.
I remember in his offseason, he did an awful lot to strengthen the muscles in his shoulder area, which has been problematic the last couple of years. So you see, watch where the ball is caught. It's always upward start with and downward plane, changing speeds. Kelly blocked that ball there and tagged him out for his second strikeout.
Here's J.D. Davis, the third baseman this afternoon.
94 on that fastball. With 3 seasons, 62 home runs.
And a ground ball that's hit up the middle. Garcia to his left. Flips it over to Jose Martinez for the out. It's always been the question with Garcia, could he play shortstop if needed, on a regular basis? And he's really improved this part of his game from this time last year.
When you talk about utility players, what separates the men from the boys is the ability to play shortstop. An awful lot of them can play second base, first base, third base, but to be a true utility guy coming off the bench, you have to play short.
Here's John Kemmer, and a swing and a miss.
You love the pace that Walker's throwing at, too.
Exudes confidence. Pitch in this manner. The 0-1 pitch. Jammed him, and it's popped up. Playable for Johnny Peralta. Good start here for Michael Wacha. That's 6 up, 6 down, an 8-pitch inning. Stephen Piscotty leads it off when we come back, and there's no score. Leads it off for the Cardinals. He's the DH today. No home runs this spring and hitting just 130. John Mozeliak said the other day, if it was a young player like Steven and he's having this kind of spring, you worry, but it's different when it's Stephen Piscotty. He said we know he works on different things, kind of a quiet guy, but when we get going and the games are for real and the bullets are real, we go up north, he'll be ready to go. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Fastball, 1-2.
Danny, that brings up a good point because, you know, we know Piscotty, very intelligent. He's got a lot of confidence in himself, so he can mentally work on different things and not be affected by the low average. A lot of times young players, they come in here with a goal of making the team, and if they make the team, their goal is already set for the year. You know, they forgot about, you also want to take it into the regular season and do well.
The 2-2 pitch to Piscotty. Did not go. And we can hear home plate umpire Greg Gibson all the way up here. Piscotty a year ago led the Cardinals in RBIs and runs scored. There's a look at your umpires this afternoon. In the field, they'll move around and take different turns at various positions. That pitch is high and inside, and the Cardinals have the first base runner of the afternoon.
Charlie Morton, just a ground ball specialist, so you always have that potential to hit into a double play if he walks somebody or gives up a hit.
Going back to your point about Jerko shifting around the infield, last year he started 28 games at third and 100 across the infield. He was all over the place.
And hit home runs in all 4 infield positions.
And a high fly ball lifted into deep right field. Kemmer is on the move, looks up, and it's gone. An opposite field home run. Jed Jerko, his first of the spring after 30 in regular season play a year ago.
That's what Jed could do. What a tremendous second half he had. He had 23 home runs, second most in the major leagues in the second half. And ball stays up, and he knew how to deliver it out of the ballpark. The Cardinals got a quick 2-0 lead.
Well, he's got quick hands, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Here's Jose Martinez, and a strike. He's at first base today. Still no Matt Carpenter. Now, he hasn't swung a bat in live action for about 7 to 10 days or so. Nursing the sore back, make sure it does not hamper him with the oblique that kept him out of games a year ago.
You got one of your regulars out, creates an opportunity, and Jose Martinez has made the most of it. Hitting .400, leading the team in home runs and RBIs.
3 homers, 8 driven in this spring training. Reaching for it, and a sinking liner and a base hit. So walk, a 2-run homer, and now a base hit by Martinez.
Not a youngster. He's from Venezuela, and early in his early 20s, he could really fly. They say from the right side to get down the line at 4 flat. And a serious knee injury cost him about 3 years playing with a artificial meniscus.
Brings in Tommy Pham. Ooh, Martinez just back in safely.
Oh, awkward going back in. Looked like he tried to dive and kind of change direction. There, you see? Tried to get to the back of the base.
First pitch to Tommy Pham is taken for a strike. Pham is now 28, and you start hitting 28, 29. These become very important years on an individual basis for your career.
And depending on how many pitchers the Cardinals take, will depend on if you have 4 or 5-man bench. So guys like Martinez and Pham could be playing for one of those outfield spots.
And he started all 3 outfield spots a year ago, 25 in center. That was the most that he played in terms of position. That's chopped foul for strike 2. Began the season, you may recall, on the opening day roster, then injured his left oblique after just 1 at-bat. And that's been kind of the story for Tommy Pham. It was a cold afternoon in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, numerous injuries throughout his minor league career. Just love to see him stay healthy.
0-2 pitch. And a swing and a miss. So Pham strikes out. First strikeout for Charlie Morton. And it brings in Carson Kelly. On the docket to pitch potentially for the Cardinals today, Mike Myers, Austin Gomber, Jonathan Broxton, Miguel Sokolovich, and Ryan Sheriff, who's been very good in the spring. And has a new car thanks to Adam Wainwright. For those that have not heard that story, he saw Sheriff walking to spring training every single day. And Wainwright said, you know what, I'm going to take care of this, and surprised him with a rental car for the remainder of spring. He was moved so much by the gesture, Sheriff, that he actually started to cry. Check on Martinez and back in safely. Some nifty handwork over there.
You're exactly right. I would say he's found his limit. Don't go any further. You know, look at how he stops and eluded the tag. It's one of those plays, too, that umpires may have just called you out in the past, but with replay, not in spring training, but during the regular season, they'll wait and make sure that you're tagged out.
A ball on a strike on Carson Kelly, who's hitting this spring just 188. Yadier Molina is off with the World Baseball Classic. You been following the Classic all that much?
Not enough. You know, hotel I'm at does not have it on, and so you have to go to one of those watering holes.
Hard job for you, huh?
A little bit.
Here's a swing and a miss. 2 strikes on Kelly. It was Ryan Dempster who pitched for Team Canada yesterday, and Team USA advanced to the win. It is unique to see some of the players that you remember, like a Ryan Dempster, who's out of Major League Baseball, got himself in shape just enough to pitch. That's off the glove, and this turns into 2. That'll go 1, 4, 6, 3, and a double play. Jed Jerko has given the Cardinals an early lead. We saw 30 of those a year ago. His first of spring, a 2-run shot. An opposite field home run to make it 2-0 Cardinals. And Michael Wacha has been sensational here early on. 6 up, 6 down, and he has struck out 2.
Well, Dan, I think we could say he's probably been the most impressive starter that the Cardinals have had this year. It's good to see, but everybody's wondering what happened after 2 or 3 months. You know, will the shoulder break down like it has in 2 of the last 3 years?
Here's the 0-1. Jake Marisnick at the plate. Very good defender. One of the fastest players in all of baseball, but a lifetime .225 hitter. They'd love to see him play every day if he could get that average up there, and the offense would follow suit with the defense.
And Dan, he had .209 last year for the Astros, and I've noticed this spring he struck out 11 times in 30 at-bats.
2-1 pitch. Ball that's up, and it's pulled foul. Houston, we're seeing a little bit more of them in spring training along with Washington. They have moved into a new facility, and talked to some of the players. They are raving about that ballpark that they're in.
I saw the complex that they share with the Nationals. It's about 15 minutes away from our facility here, and it is outstanding.
They were working literally round the clock to get that done by the opener of spring as Kelly applies the tag, and it's strikeout number 3 for Michael Wacha. Well, you like to see this. Have a little fun with the fans. Why not? Play some catch, a little souvenir. Look at that guy. He's got the catcher's gear on and getting a personal lesson. How awesome is that? That's great.
Pretty sweet.
It's a day that young man will never forget.
Yeah, it's kind of, those kind of things can happen in spring training. Everyone's a little more relaxed.
Players will be running the poles after they come out of games just to stay loose, get their running in while live action is going on. There's a line drive and a base hit past Garcia and into left field. First hit by Reed Brignac, the switch hitter. That's the shortstop today for Houston. Everything is more relaxed. I mean, a lot of the fans are on the back fields here at Roger Dean Stadium, and we say it all the time. We really encourage our fans, if you have the chance and can do it, come on down, take in spring training. And you'll see the up-close bullpen sessions and batting practice and autographs if you're lucky enough. It's a lot of fun. There's Tony Kemp. He was called up for the first time in the big leagues late last season. Mentioned earlier, he could play the outfield, and he's at second base today.
59 games last year with Houston.
1 out, runner at first, and a check. One thing about Wacha, his move to first is pretty good. He's got quick feet.
That's the key. You know, most of the time when you have somebody as tall as Wacha, Wainwright, you know, they're slow to the plate, but he's got quick feet.
There's a fly ball that's lifted into right center. Drifting back, Fowler. He's just smooth out there, isn't he? I mean,
glides to the ball. And
you know, we didn't see him a lot last year. We've seen him before, but now watching him every day, you see just how smooth he is. He gets good jumps.
And of course, Houston knows a little bit about Dexter Fowler. He played with them before he went to the Cubs. And you and I both remember him when he was with Colorado and really liked what we saw. Now he's wearing the Cardinal uniform, and a perfect fit.
Here's George Springer back to the top of the lineup. Good fastball. That fastball is live today from Wacha.
And not only is it live, but he's really spotting it well. And they're working with Carson Kelly. They're pitching inside quite a bit and to good effect.
Runner at first is Brignac. 0-2. Springer was trying to tie it up. 178 strikeouts a year ago for George. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in 2014, and the cover, the title said, your 2017 World Series champs, the Houston Astros. At that point in time, they were 36 and 47, and many could see how Houston gutted what they had at the major league level, got the high draft picks. Now they're spending money, and they are considered, after this rebuild, to be one of the favorites in the American League.
Well, I think they were a surprising playoff team in 15 ahead of schedule, and then disappointing last year. The nice mix of young players to go along with now, you know, guys like a Charlie Morton, and you get your Beltran.
Brian McCann they traded for. Josh Reddick they signed as a free agent. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brignac is leaning but not running, and the pitch is a single into center field. So a couple of base hits here in the top of the 3rd, and it brings in Colin Moran.
A little bit fooled on the pitch, but he puts it in play, hits it up the middle.
One thing you notice too about spring training, the crowds, you know, you're around 6,000 fans or so on a good day, but you hear everything. You hear the glove popping, you hear the bat, the crack, and the sounds of the game.
You know, sometimes when you hear the glove popping, it's not good, because if it's got movement, you don't hear the pop. If it's straight, you hear the pop.
Catch it cleanly.
Is that true?
That is a base hit down into the corner. 1 run at least will score. Here comes Springer. They're going to wave him in. And Springer will score to tie this game up at 2. An RBI double by Colin Moran. RBI 7 and 8 this spring, and it's a 2-2 game.
All 3 hits have been in this inning, and the ball stayed up a little bit. It's on the inner part. He just got it, used his hands, pulled it down in the right field corner. See, Springer runs pretty good.
So a 2-out double to score 2, and it brings in Evan Gattis. Gattis flying to center first time up. So the first runs that Walker has allowed this spring.
First runs that either one of these starters allowed this spring.
Cardinals would love to see that pitch count around 60 to 75 today.
I noticed the last start with Waka. Now, he didn't give up any runs, but it looked like his 3rd inning he started tiring a little bit. And you kind of wonder here, because some of the pitches have gotten up a little bit over the middle of the plate, missing his in or out.
And Gattis pops it up. Greg Garcia makes the catch at short. Colin Moran drives in 2. We're midway through 3 and tied up 2-2. Midwest is brought to you in part by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And by the Chevy Silverado, the new face of strong Chevrolet. Find new roads at your local Mid-America Chevy dealer. Sierra leads it off for the Cardinals. 2-2 our score in the bottom of the third. He's in the 9th position of this lineup. Then we'll see Fowler and Garcia. It seemed like last year we saw a lot of Jacob Wilson, and he was the young player that got a lot of at-bats and opened up some eyes. And this spring it seems to be Sierra getting a lot of those opportunities.
And it's funny because everybody said, oh, he was going to be an automatic major leaguer, and then this year he's not even in camp.
And what's interesting about it is that you look at the ratings of how they evaluate players, they change monthly. You know, guy has a bad month, he's not that number prospect anymore. He's dropped down a little bit. Sierra slaps it the other way. He came in hitting .393 in this camp. He's got great speed, and he's not afraid to try. He was caught nearly 30 times a year ago.
No, and he's still a young player. He's not even going to be 21 until April the 7th. He's already been a Cardinal minor league player of the year. That was back in 14 when he was the youngest to win the award.
It was a year that he won a batting championship.
Also, fastest base runner, best athlete, best defensive outfielder, strongest arm.
He had a play at the plate yesterday on a throw from Sierra to center, and you could see how strong the arm was. It was a little offline, but you got the idea of the strength of his arm. And Sierra back in safely.
And usually when you talk about a 5-tool player, and I don't often talk about it, the last thing to really develop for a young player is going to be the power. And I think that Sierra does have that potential.
Here's a 1-0. A strike to Fowler, grounded out softly to first. His first time up. One thing about Fowler, too, that we've noticed is that he has lightened up camp. You know, you talk to players, whether he's had a good day, a bad day on the field, he's always smiling. And, you know, and there's something to that. This game that's so hard, and it's a game of failure, and it's a game of frustration, but here he is always smiling, and it's been a welcome addition to this clubhouse, no doubt.
It seemed like a team will eventually take the personality of their manager. And Mike has said on numerous occasions that he did not have fun when he played. You know, he took the responsibility of catching every day, working with the pitching staff. And of course, Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa gave so much responsibility to their catcher. It just wasn't fun for Mike Matheny, so it's hard for him to understand how do you make it fun for the players.
1-1 to center. Sierra back to the bag at first. Well, Dexter's trying to maybe lighten up Mike Matheny a little bit. A little chest bump coming up. Yeah.
And we'll see if Mike, we'll know he's really changed if he starts doing the dance routine with Wainwright.
Before you know it, that'll be here. The choreographed various dances with certain players that Adam has developed over the years. There's a ball inside to Greg Garcia. One out runner at first. Our score is 2-2. Garcia flied to deep center first time up. Now Greg is out of options, so you would think that he's going to make this club. That's a factor, certainly. Cardinals don't want to lose him, and he's had a pretty good spring.
And while he has been in the big leagues the last couple of years, he's proven that he can be a good pinch hitter. And showing that he has the ability to play shortstop. You know, he can play second, play third, but shortstop's the real key.
2-0 the count. Let's see if Sierra wants to run. He's not, and it's pulled foul. Right into the Cardinal bullpen, and those folks should have a ticket to that all-inclusive section. All you can eat and drink, get a souvenir, and probably some autographs too. Players very accommodating down here in spring training when signing and even during the games, especially those in the bullpen.
Kind of a party effect out there in right field now, and that used to be just the grassy knoll that was just a haven for all the young players to get autographs from all the bullpenners.
The 2-1 pitch. Garcia drops down a bunt. It's a beauty. Morton to first and got him by a step.
Hey, ice cold beer and ice cold water.
Morton had to be perfect with that. Fielded cleanly, step and throw, and he made the play. It puts Sierra now in scoring position for Johnny Peralta.
Usually if you're a good sinker ball pitcher, you are a good fielder also. You release the ball, you become a fifth infielder. And Morton, you see how he falls to the first base side, but able to recover, get to the third base side, and make a strong throw.
We mentioned how the sounds of the game are part of spring training. An umpire on a play like that many times watching the bag, listening for the ball hit the glove to make the call like that. Here's Peralta, grounded out to third. And it's fouled back, and that's strike one. Al, I'll tell you what, you missed a doozy of a finish the ball game yesterday. It only took maybe 2 hours to complete the last 3 innings.
What's wrong with that?
It's the beauty of baseball. No clock.
I think for the last 3 innings, I turned off my Fox Go app.
You had had enough, huh?
Well, I just was running down my battery on my phone.
No, you didn't run out of battery. You'd had enough.
The battery, I wanted to save a little bit of battery time.
There's a ground ball that's hit to third. And Peralta is 0 for 2. The Cardinals strand a runner, their first of the afternoon. We head to the fourth, and we're tied 2-2. April 8th, 30,000 fans, ages 16 and older, take home that Yadier Molina bobblehead you see pictured there, courtesy of Ford. And a limited number of those bobbleheads feature a gold or platinum glove. There's also a life-sized Yachty bobblehead in Ford Plaza. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. That's April 8th. First pitch by Waka is fouled back, and it's strike one on A.J. Reed. Reed struck out his first time up. And the 0-1. Make it 0-2. Well, for the Astros to be successful, they need to have bounce-back years from their pitching staff, and in particular, Dallas Keuchel.
Yes. Cy Young Award winner.
That was 2 years ago, and then
yeah.
last season he dropped to 9-12. The year before he was 20-8. Nothing in 2 the count.
Keuchel's from the Tulsa area.
Walker will step and throw. One away.
I was at a banquet 2 years ago in Claymore, Oklahoma, and his father was there.
Keuchel's?
Yes.
You ever ask him about his beard? He's got really one of the great beards in the game today. And you being a aficionado of facial hair.
But I don't talk to people that still have color in their beards.
You're only talking to gray beards. J.D. Davis at the plate.
Third-round pick out of Cal State Fullerton.
Always a powerhouse in college baseball. So many players have come from that program.
And they talk about 62 home runs in the minor leagues since signing.
Two-0 pitch, and it's 2-1. Walker was the home opening pitcher a year ago. Year before that, he made his first and only All-Star game.
Won 17 ball games for the Cardinals. And that was following what he did in 13 in the postseason. And then the shoulder, the stress reaction on his shoulder.
3-2.
Which is a precursor to a stress fracture. They've strengthened the muscles in that area, and we hope that will keep him on the active roster. But you don't really know until how that shoulder's going to hold up after 3 or 4 months.
And he comes back to strike him out. May have chased the ball, but Walker picks up strikeout number 4.
But you know, he's throwing on both sides of the plate, so a hitter will expand the zone. And he's right there hitting the glove. Walker looks like he got a little bit out of whack there in the 3rd inning, but he's back in the groove right now like he was in the first 2 innings, retiring the first 6 batters he faced.
As I've watched him this spring, it looks like a guy that's motivated from arbitration to maybe those that said he was not going to be in the rotation. He's pitching now like he wants to be in that rotation, and he will be. 2-2 our score. To our score, bottom of the fourth, spring training baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Here is Stephen Piscotty, and the first pitch is a ball. No activity in the Cardinals pen, so it looks like Michael Wacha will have one more inning, at least. Aiding that cause was an 8-pitch second inning. Piscotty lines it to third.
Reactionary position at third. The only thing you have time is really basically one step and a dive or reach. Hot corner.
Brings in Jerko at a 2-run homer. First 2 runs of the game back in the second, as he popped it into right center. This is Jed Jerko's first home run of the spring. RBIs 2 and 3. That brought in Piscotty, who had walked ahead of him. 0-2 the count. Cardinals had an injury in the game yesterday. Jordan Schaefer, who's trying to make the club as an outfielder and a pitcher, felt some tightness in the forearm as he was pitching, was taken out for precautionary reasons. So they're going to shut him down from pitching for a couple of days. Trevor Rosenthal threw a bullpen session yesterday before the game, and he said he felt pretty good. So they're going to try to get him in a game very, very soon. Here's a 1-2. Breaking ball lifted into shallow left. Out number 2.
Remember that Rosenthal was going to get Martinez's starts, but then he had that little problem in his lat, and John Gant, who they got in the Jaime Garcia trade, has taken advantage of that opportunity and pitched very well.
He looks good.
And
now he's a guy that could be a starter or a reliever. He's done both. Here's Jose Martinez, singled his first time up. That's something down there you don't see every day. Dexter Fowler sitting next to the Cardinals pitching coach outside the dugout in a game that he's in. A lot of times it's the pitchers or the manager or another coach. Usually not the position players. Broken bat. And the catch made by Tony Kemp. Dexter Fowler in this game today. We head to the 5th. And we're tied. It's 2-2. Michael Wacha here this afternoon.
well, tied the first 6 men. Everything was in and out and really down. Struck out 3 of those first 7. But then in the space of 4 batters, he gave up 3 base hits. And all of a sudden now things are a little bit more in the middle of the plate. But He's regrouped, and now he's retired the last 4 in a row.
Marisnik, Reed Brignac, and Tony Kemp. Astros have a right-hander getting loose, so that'll probably be it for Charlie Morton. And the first pitch taken for a ball. Marisnik struck out swinging back in the third. Waka has struck out 4. And he's allowed 3 base hits. 2 balls, no strikes. Popped up into right. Going back Sierra, and he makes the catch. Marisnik is 0 for 2, and it brings in Reed Brignac. A switch hitter playing shortstop today. Play all over the infield and played a little outfield as well. Cardinals rotation features Carlos Martinez, Mike Leake, Adam Wainwright, Lance Lynn, and Michael Waka. Bunted off the plate and foul. Such a disappointment, the injury to Alex Reyes.
And I guess, you know, you always got to look at something positive about it. And he's still so young. Let's get it out of the way. You know, he had a partial tear of that ulnar nerve, or the ligament there, you know, since about 2012. So get it out of the way, get the Tommy John, and then you can reap the benefits of him when he starts coming into his prime.
Two balls and a strike. He evens it up at 2-2. Mentioned earlier how it just seems that Waka is motivated this spring training, whether it be by having to go to arbitration and hear some things that probably you don't want to hear.
You know, he's mature enough that that process won't bother him.
Here's a ground ball backhanded by Jerko. 2 away.
Even though he lost, he got a huge raise.
StubHub is your ticket out to once-in-a-lifetime experiences, from Cardinals games to amazing concerts to shows you just don't want to miss. StubHub connects you with the world of life. StubHub, your ticket out. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals.
Dan, before free agency, that's what negotiations were like, but they didn't last that long. You had no other alternative.
There's a fly ball into center off the bat of Tony Kemp, backing up. Fowler, and he makes the catch on the track. A 9-pitch inning for Michael Waka. Midway through 5, and it's 2-2. to you in part by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. By Steak and Shake, 24 meals under $4. And by Toyota. Let's go places. Yandel Gustave is the new pitcher for Houston. Made his major league debut August 10th a year ago. And this is our Chevy Cole to the pen, trying to earn a spot in the bullpen for Houston. And a strike to Tommy Pham.
Little slider right there. They say he really doesn't have much more than a fastball, but he can go triple digits with that fastball.
He originally signed with Houston, and then after the 2014 season, Red Sox picked him up in the Rule 5 draft, then traded him to Kansas City. Kansas City released him, claimed by San Diego, and then returned to Houston. So he bounced around in that season of 2015 before finally settling in the major leagues at the end of last year. Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a strikeout of Tommy Pham.
But you see, he's working on his secondary pitches. They could throw, has recorded a pitch at 102 miles an hour. How do you release a guy that throws 102 miles an hour?
Here's Carson Kelly. The sounds of the game. Hear the umpire with Tommy Pham. I can tell you what he said. He said, yeah, you did. He said that. We could hear that up here.
We could.
Strike 2 on Carson Kelly. I'm with you. Looking at this guy's arm and his stuff, I certainly think he'd keep him.
Even if he can't throw, didn't have a breaking ball or anything else, eventually that'll come.
0-2 pitch. Fastball, and blew it right by him. On the gun here, that was at 96. So back-to-back strikeouts, and it brings in Sierra. When you think about what speed can do, and word is out, they know Sierra can run, so your third baseman plays in well off the line. And now the left fielder, Marisnik, starts to move into very shallow left. He just moved in. But look how shallow he is. You don't see guys play that shallow in Major League Baseball. But you can understand why you do it with Sierra.
Sure. But you also got to remember, too, you come in too shallow. Now he's backing up a little bit. You get the ball in the gap, and he could circle the bases.
The 1-1 pitch. Lines it towards second, and the catch is made. Gustave, a 1-2-3, bottom of 5. 2-2 our score. season with your new Cardinals gear. Friday, April 7th, 30,000 fans ages 16 and older receive a lightweight hooded pullover. That's courtesy of AT&T. And tickets are available at cardinals.com/promotions. Promotional schedule again is outstanding. Cardinals have the $11 tickets for games 2 and 3 of the opening series with the Chicago Cubs. Cardinals.com/McDonald's. And here's our Chevy call to the pen, and it brings in Jonathan Broxton. He'll get the top of the lineup, and George Springer.
Broxton 32, turned 33 on June 16th. 66 games last year. Didn't pitch well at home, but there were times where he was all season long, he was very effective on the road, and at times the Cardinals' best setup man to get to O or Rosenthal.
Well, Michael Wacha, one of the starters that you talk about in this rotation, the first to get to 5 innings this spring.
And we could say another very positive outing for Wacha.
Took him 59 pitches to get through 5. 40 were strikes.
And Dan, he only just had a little rough spell where he gave up all 3 of his hits in a matter of 4 batters. He retired the first 7, and then he retired the last 7.
.30 pitch. Now 3-1. Springer today rounded out to short and singled and scored on the RBI double by Colin Moran, who's on deck. Here's a 3-1 pitch by Broxton. Chopped foul.
Last few days I was spending with the Cardinal sponsors, and what a job that Dan Farrell and Thane and Busigan, their entire staffs, do an amazing job. Fun time had by all.
You live to talk about it, huh?
I live to talk about it.
3-2 pitch from 3-0 to a full count. And he comes back to strike him out. Reminder, we have Blues hockey coming up tonight. And that'll come your way. Big road trip for the Blues starts in Los Angeles. 8:30 with the pregame show with John Kelly and Darren Pang. And that's Blues hockey against the Kings tonight at 8:30. Here's Colin Moran, who's 1 for 2 with an RBI double. Anytime I mention Fox Sports Go in that app, you start to get a little warm and fuzzy, because last time we talked about it, you mentioned that you were cuddling with June watching the Blues game with your app.
Absolutely. Happens so frequently, I forgot about we did that.
There's a base hit into right. Just over the glove of second baseman Jed Jerko.
I remember I asked you if you wanted to come over.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
We could do it again.
Again, Al, I'm just going to leave that alone, and I'm good. I'm good tonight. Do I remember? Oh, yeah, I remember that. Evan Gaddis. Let's see if Broxton can't get this double play. And it's a fly ball lifted down the right field line, tailing foul.
White Bear. Just named that, playing, I think it was Venezuela in the Winter League. Their softball player.
Old school, no batting gloves.
But I mean, you think about him, he was really a high prospect, and left the game for a while, and kind of took a interesting journey, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
I don't know what life, you had to work for a living.
Well, he's unique, too, in the fact that he can play catcher. He can play first base. He can play the outfield. They've used him there.
And he can hit.
Yes, he can. And he's got power. May not hit for a high average, but he'll pop some home runs. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Now that's, I noticed that earlier. I'm assuming that's his wedding ring that he's wearing, but you don't see guys usually wear that when they play.
Right. Or is it a tattoo? Sometimes I've seen guys with a tattoo because they will tell you that, you know, everybody loves their wife and everything, but don't wear that ring on the field, because if you're hit and you get hit on that ring, they're going to be cutting it off.
1-2 the count. Lead at first by Moran. Now, these are a couple of old school big boys squaring off. Broxton and Gaddis.
Gaddis doesn't have the time, major league time, like Broxton. Got 11 plus years in the big leagues, but I agree with everything you said. Other than that.
Here's your ground ball, but it finds a hole into left.
Strong enough to take that inside pitch, just muscle it through.
Well, the way he stands over the plate.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's daring you to throw him inside.
Well, and a lot of times when a hitter will do that is they'll say, if you can get in my kitchen, and there he got in there, but not far enough, because he's so strong, he just muscles it through. But if you get in there, you can get him out. But with today's fastball command, they don't get it in far enough, and that's where he throws it up on the Crawford boxes for a home run.
So pinch runner. That's Andrew Applin for Gaddis.
Applin's an outfielder.
This is Tyler Heineman at the plate, so he'll pinch hit for A.J. Reed.
He's a catcher, so he'll probably go in and catch.
One out, runners at first and second. And the 0-1 pitch. Little flare out to second base, and the catch made by Jed Jerko. And with that, there's 2 down. The batter will be J.D. Davis, who is grounded out to short and also struck out 0 for 2 today. Well, Broxton's been an all-star. He's been a closer. At one point, he was one of the better setup men for the Cardinals. He had a stretch of scoreless innings that wasn't rivaled by many in all of baseball. At home, he struggled at times. But he's that veteran presence the Cardinals want in their bullpen.
Extremely well liked by his teammates, and that goes for any of the clubs he's been on. He's been on his full share.
Here's the 0-1 pitch to Davis. Ground ball and a base hit into right. Let's see the arm of Sierra. He bobbled it. Still throws a strike to third, but bobbled it on the exchange, and the Astros have the lead. It's now 3-2.
Yeah, that would have been a good test. He really was not very deep, shallow in right field, and if he comes up with this ball cleanly, but he loses connection, then he still fires the seed over to third base a little late.
Teoscar Hernandez will be the pinch hitter now for John Kemmer.
Young outfielder.
Made his major league debut in early August of last year. And he fights it off. Jerko, though, makes the catch. Nice play by Jed Jerko. Takes a hit and a run away. The catch by Jerko. The single by Davis. And a run scores. Makes it 3-2 Houston, midway through 6. Cardinals. And Fowler is grounded out. Also fly to center. 0 for 2. Gustave, his second inning of work in relief of Charlie Morton. The first pitch is fouled back. And here's the 0-1 pitch to the All-Star a year ago. High strike to Fowler, 0-2. Dexter at 276 with 13 home runs, drove in 48, did steal 13 bags. Led off Game 7 of the World Series with a home run. Leading off an inning, one of the best in baseball. Joyce, Wong, Fowler, Zobrist, and DJ LeMahieu, who won the batting title with Colorado.
Is that surprising to you to see Wong in that list?
I'm not sure what it really tells you. You know, I mean, yeah, you're good leading off an inning, but are you good early in the count when that happens? Are you looking for fastballs? You know,
yeah.
Does it tell you maybe more about facing a bullpen? Popped up left side and a foul ball.
One infielder on the left side. That's a long run for.
That's still Davis. J.D. Davis, the third baseman. But they've got the shift on here for Fowler and a 1-2 pitch. And Fowler hits it out to deep right. Did he get enough? It is off the wall, I believe. Or is it? It comes back in. Fowler is trotting as if this ball is gone.
Yeah, he thought it was gone. He's trying to signal to our umpire out in center field, C.B. Buckner. But Buckner's saying, nope, it's off the wall. Get a look here. Oh, it's off the double D sign. So CB missed that one. And Fowler gets no credit. And see, watch the DD sign.
Well, I'm not sure. It might hit off the top of the wall.
Oh, well.
Regardless, it's a double.
And we got a new pinch runner. Harrison Bader.
And a new pitcher as well. So the Astros will bring in a lefty. Harrison Bader is your pinch runner. And Tolliver will finish up his warm-up tosses. Then we'll come back.
Play that funky.
Tolliver, fifth-round selection in 2009 from the University of Arkansas. He was claimed off of waivers and picked up by the Astros in December.
Paul DeYoung, who is hitting here. We were talking about the home run he hit yesterday, rated as the best power of the minor leaguers, the Cardinal organization. He has done nothing but impressed anybody who's watched it. There's another very impressive young player, and that's the pinch runner, Harrison Bader.
And DeYoung is moved to shortstop. More than likely will be the everyday shortstop in Memphis. Was at third base. And he hits that foul and out of play. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Time with Ted Simmons, who's scouting this year for Atlanta. Really likes DeYoung, has kind of put him in the mold of Zobrist. Ability to play all over the place.
And the 2-1 pitch. Ground ball that's hit left side. Bader back to the bag. DeYoung is out at first. So DeYoung with power, and he showed it yesterday opposite field. This was a 3-run shot against the Marlins. Hard enough to hit home runs in this ballpark, much less go the opposite way. So Bader can't advance to third. And here's Johnny Peralta. Peralta 0 for 2 with a pair of groundouts. They put the shift on for him. One thing that Johnny has done pretty consistently in his career is hit well against left-handed pitching.
I think he's going to have a good season again.
Here's a 1-0 pitch.
He's got the incentive of the last year of his multi-year contract with the Cardinals. He's healthy. Lost a little weight, you know, is in better shape this year.
2-0 the count. Outfield is straight away. Peralta lines it into left field. That will score Bader. And this game is tied 3-3 on an RBI double by Johnny Peralta.
They had to shift on with 3 infielders on the left side of the infield, but hit that ball so hard it get by. And Peralta just really turned on it. That's in his 6th RBI of the spring.
So Peralta's day is through. And Patrick Wisdom will be the pinch runner for Johnny. Wisdom has had a nice camp. He's got 3 home runs for the Cardinals. And here is Stephen Piscotty. Mitch Harris is throwing in the Cardinals' pen.
Come on, Steven. Get it high. Turn it up.
Walked and scored back in the 2nd and lined out to 3rd. Boy, anytime I see that, I mean, it's just hard not to think about Juan Encarnacion.
Yep.
I mean, that was very close to Jed Jerko.
That was a hospital trip.
I know fans are saying, well, what's he up to? Believe me, we've tried to find more and more out about him and where he's at, and even those that were closest with him have not heard all that much from him. Here's a 1-1.
Heard from him a couple times through his foundation, but you know, the Cardinals, as you said, have even tried to reach out to him, and with pretty much no luck.
This net came in pretty good.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. 2-2. Runner at 2nd is Wisdom. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Stephen Piscotty. But right back to that same pitch. And it's now 3-2. Our next telecast will be Wednesday at noon. It's the Minnesota Twins. Piscotty, base hit. That will score Wisdom. And Steven will change spots at 2nd base. And with that, it's a 4-3 Cardinals lead.
Love to see that, don't you? Just trade places with a man at 2nd.
That's the 3rd double hit by the Cardinals in this inning.
That ball flattened out, and he just turned on another one down in the left field corner. Hit hard, 2nd RBI of the year, the season.
Another pitching change, and we'll step aside.
Get closer to
hearing it from the Cardinals dugout, and in particular from Dexter Fowler about the home run that wasn't.
Even the umpires can have a laugh and a smile even in spring training.
Regular season wouldn't be that hard to figure out. You just go to instant replay and you'd see it, and away we go.
If you requested it within 30 seconds.
A swing and a miss by Jerko. Yeah, that would be one, though, that'd be pretty easy. They'd say, let's take a look at it. This is Jordan J.J. Jankowski and his numbers this spring.
He was at AAA last year, Fresno.
Former 34th round pick. Started with Morton and Gustave Tolliver, now Jankowski. Runner at second is Stephen Piscotty. Here's an 0-2 pitch to Jed Jerko. Jerko with a 2-run homer back in the second to start the scoring in this game. As he hit out to right center, that hit off a sign, and there were some in the ballpark that thought that Fowler's hit off a sign beyond the wall, and those poles are not up against the wall. They're actually away a few feet. So if it hits that sign or that pole, you know it's a home run, and it looked like Fowler's may have hit the top of the wall. 1-2 the count. Could have a situation like we did last year. Brian Price never requested the challenge at the end of a game on a ground rule double, which was clearly a ground rule double off the bat of Molina that scored Carpenter in a crucial game down the stretch. Here's a 2-2 pitch. When you think about that game, you know, Brian Price had nothing to lose by going out and just saying, hey guys, wave the hands and let's take a look at it. And he waited too long, and by the rule book, the time was up and the umpires were off the field. Here's a 3-2 pitch to Jerko. Fouled back.
Didn't even went in underneath, and they kind of got his attention, and the time he came out, it was too late. The umpires had already got under the thumb.
I'm guessing it was their video guy or maybe a member of their traveling party that came racing down. He was in street clothes.
Yeah, it was in St. Louis.
And you could see him, you know, imploring the coaching staff to challenge it. Here's a 3-2 pitch. Just missed in. So a walk for Jerko. 4 of the 5 hitters have reached base this inning for the Cardinals. And runners at first and second for Jose Martinez. Valera will pinch run for Jed Jerko. Martinez singled back in the second inning and lined out in the fourth as he looks at strike one.
And of course, Jose Martinez spent the year, most of it, or during the regular minor league season, at Omaha and Memphis, splitting time. Jankowski pitching for Fresno in the Pacific Coast League. These two, they know each other.
0-1 pitch. You know, the amazing thing is now is that, you know, we talk about video so much in the major league game. It's prevalent now all over the place in the minor leagues too. The scouting, the shifting, the video.
Makes sense, Dan, too, because these guys get accustomed in the minor leagues to the shifting. They can't come up and complain about it.
Here's a 1-1, and that ball gets away. Well, slowly but surely, spring training game starts to look like a minor league game. There's a wild pitch. And runners advance to second and third.
Just really jerked it, yanked on it, and way well wide of his catcher. As Max Stassi is now catching.
Astros bring the infield in here in the bottom of the sixth. One out. Runners at second and third. The 2-1. Martinez puts it in play. Up the middle, base hit. One run is in. Here comes another. Throw is not in time, and Jose Martinez drives in two.
There's 2 more RBIs. He's up to 10 now in the RBI department, leading the club. Just put the ball in play. Takes it right back up the middle with the infield in. That cuts down their angles. And he gets 2 RBIs. The Cardinals have a little bit of fun here. 6-3 now. And stop.
And it brings in Tommy Pham. 4 runs here in the bottom of the sixth for the Cardinals. Hit and run, and Pham hits it in the air to right. And Martinez had to scurry back to the bag at first. Interesting to see what the center fielder was doing.
I saw that too. You know, that you always talk about the middle infielders trying to deke the runner and think it's going to be a double play ball, get him to slide. Well, the center fielder came in like he was fielding a ball in the outfield, a ground ball. You see right there, the second baseman, the ball goes out to right field. With the hit and run on, Martinez is running. You got to pick up your coaches. You got to figure out where that ball is. But it was high enough and stayed in the air long enough for him to get back to first.
And a strike on Carson Kelly. So Pham 0 for 3. Kelly has bounced into a double play and also struck out. And the shift is on for young Carson Kelly. One ball and 1 strike. And a throw over. Two outs and a runner at first, and the 1-1 pitch. Martinez running and out. Big inning for the Cardinals as they pick up 4 runs. 3 doubles in this inning. A walk and a single that scored 2 off the bat of Martinez. from arm surgery. Did not have the full Tommy John. And we saw him pitch the other day. Was roughed up a bit, but the main thing was he felt healthy enough to come back and throw the next day, throw the day after that, and appear now in another game.
Still a great story. Naval Academy graduate. Was drafted by the Cardinals. In the first 5 years, he was on military leave as he was fulfilling his obligation as a lieutenant in the Navy.
And the first batter is Jake Marisnick, and it's popped foul and out of play.
Dr. Paletta came up with that surgery that Mitch Harris had, and also Seth Maness. Instead of a full tear of the ligament, you know, it's a partial tear, and they do a procedure, so it's not a full Tommy John, and you come back quicker.
Seth Maness now with Kansas City. Matt Holliday with the Yankees. Brandon Moss with Kansas City. Jeremy Hazelbaker is with Arizona. Jaime Garcia with the Atlanta Braves. Dean Kieckeffer is with Seattle. That pitch taken high, 1-2. We're in the 7th, and the Cardinals have a lead of 6-3. And he struck him out. Caught the outside corner. Cardinals spring training baseball is always live with the MLB.com at bat mobile app. So stay connected all spring with radio broadcasts, video highlights, stats, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat today. It's your #1 app for live baseball. Marisnick is 0 for 3. And this is John Singleton. It's one of their top prospects a few years ago. Big power. Fastball and a strike. Hitting 133 this spring. No home runs. Changes for the Cardinals. DeYoung is at short. Valera at second. Cunningham comes in for Martinez at first base. And Wisdom is over at third.
Also Bader's in center. Thought they might have switched, put Sierra in center and Bader in right, but kept. Harris got that fastball. He also has a splitter. It looks like that's working a little better for him today.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Ooh, just missed. Well, the bottom line is you can never have enough pitching, and Mitch Harris will give you some depth. On average, major league teams, 27 pitchers used a year ago. 27. Against the shift and a base hit for Singleton. It's gentleman that's been taking video down in the dugout now is moved out of the dugout right below us in the stands. This is Jack Mayfield, who's at the plate. Also serves as a bat boy at times. He's not a real big guy in there, Al.
A little slight on the slight side.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. This spring, he's 2 for 4 with an RBI.
Tony Kemp, who he replaced, isn't that big either. Well, and then you got Altuve, you know,
Right.
one of our favorites. How about the numbers he put up? Second, the MVP last year. You know, when people say, you know, who would you pay to see? That's one guy I would pay to see.
Always hustles, plays hard, good defender, great hitter. Yeah, I agree. He's staying at the same hotel I'm at, and I had the chance to visit with him for about 5 minutes the other day, and he was talking about the ballpark that they're at and the fact that they have moved down here. He said Kissimmee was okay, not great. He said, but man, the accommodations of what we have at this new ballpark and the area in general, this has been a good thing for our club.
It's a good thing for the Cardinals, too.
Yeah. Here's a 3-1. And it's taken high, so a walk. A time called by Carson Kelly. And we head back to the top of the lineup. Brings in Max Stassi, who's the new catcher for Houston. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Max Stassi. A high chopper off the plate. Wisdom, strike to Cunningham at first for the out. Runners advance to second and third. Mitch Harris is the Cardinals' third pitcher used in this game. It started with Michael Wacha went 5 innings, then Jonathan Broxton an inning. Now Mitch Harris.
They haven't been able to get Moran out. Struck out the first time, but then a 2-run double in the third. Base hit, came around to score in the 6th.
Runners at second and third. First pitch fouled back. Now, one of the concerns that Mitch has had in talking with him the other day, he said, you know, trying to come back from the surgery, didn't do a lot of throwing in the offseason. So, you know, as he goes deeper into a game, you'll see some of these pitches maybe get up, gets tired quicker.
Sure. You know, it's 91 miles an hour as you're building your arm strength back instead of you got up to 95.
0-1 is lifted down the left field line.
Still a great story with when he was serving his commitment to the Navy, 5 years on ship. He used to play, he found a Dominican cook on one of the ships, and that's who would catch him. He couldn't have too many high pitches, so he couldn't throw it in the dirt. The retrieval of balls on a ship is not very good. And they get a little waterlogged if they do get one back.
And he struck him out. Nice work, Mitch Harris. The Astros strand a couple. It's time to stretch. Beautiful day here at Roger Dean Stadium. 6-3 Cardinals. Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by your local St. Louis Hyundai dealers. Better Drive Us. By Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. We're your shield. We're your shelter. And by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket you play gives back to schools across Missouri, so play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. Tyson Perez is the new pitcher for Houston. And we move to the bottom of the 7th. Cardinals with the lead of 6-3. Carson Kelly left standing in the batter's box after Martinez was thrown out at second base. That ended the bottom of the 6th. Perez is from Hanford, California. Grew up on a ranch.
It's a roper.
That's right. And a base hit for Kelly on a pitch that was up.
Perez is 27 years of age that Carson got that base hit against, but sent the ball up. Sends the ball up over the plate. You know, Dan, there was been a lot of talk about, you know, the possibility of raising the strike zone to generate more offense. That's what they're thinking right there. If you throw in the ball at the top of the strike zone, that's, you know, hitters love that, particularly breaking balls, hand breaking balls and stuff. But if you get it up above the strike zone, then it becomes a pitcher's pitch. You get a lot of swing and misses.
And Sierra slaps it down the left field line. Out of play. Every strike zone is different with every umpire, and that's part of the game. And you're asking potentially guys that have been around for decades to change how they call the game.
Yeah, it's hard to do. Ball got away from the bullpen, so time being called. And, you know, every umpire had their own individual strike zone. Used to be American League umpires always were higher, we call a higher pitch, because of the big balloon chest protector. National League was always more of a lower strike zone because they could get down lower. I wonder if any of these guys, players today, have ever saw the big balloon American League chest protector.
There's an 0-1 pitch to Sierra. Off a Singleton and into right. And Sierra on his way to second. Kelly is held at third. Boy, Sierra can run.
Yeah, I just see him just gliding. Pick up Carson Kelly, the catcher in front of him. Make sure you don't run him off the bases. Just turns on that pitch. Eats up Singleton over at first base. But Kelly will take off. He knows there. He picks up now. He sees the ball out there. He needs to go to third. And right behind him is Sierra with his great speed.
It brings in Bader in his first plate appearance. Singleton ruled an error on that play. And it's runners at second and third. They're going to bring the infield in, and a very good opportunity here for Harrison Bader. Now, Bader's hit a couple of home runs the past week. His second home run was hit to dead center field. He's batted .360 with 7 RBIs to go along with the 2 long balls.
Rapid rise through the Cardinal farm system.
First pitch to him. Popped up. Catch is made, 1 away.
Yeah, that's what happens sometimes. You get a young player and he gets overly excited because of seeing the infield in, thinks there's a golden opportunity, and you get a little aggressive. You either that pitch up, you either pop it up or swing through it.
Brings in DeYoung. Infield remains in, second and third, now 1 out. Patrick Wisdom is at the on-deck circle. Cardinals trying to add to their 6-3 lead. Ryan Sheriff, a left-hander, throwing in the Cardinals' pen. For the Astros, it began with Charlie Morton. He went 4 innings. Then Gustave, Tolliver, Jankowski, and now Perez. Here's a 1-0 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cardinal fan in a full suit, all red, walking right behind home plate. Perfect day to wear a suit. The 1-1.
He's got his red jacket, huh?
Yes, he does.
Did he earn it?
I'm sure that's debatable.
Got a little limp.
I appreciate the red. I appreciate the effort. Just question it. That's all. The 2-1. It's not exactly chilly down here. 3-1 to count on DeYoung.
May have like a fork ball or something where he gets up on top.
Three and 2 the count.
Can't really tell, but you see how that ball is straight over the top, hides, kind of short arms and hides it well, and then the bottom falls out of it a little bit.
Three-two pitch. Hot shot to third. Play at the plate. They got Kelly. What a tremendous play down at third. That's big league right there from J.D. Davis.
Yeah, you're playing in too, and all of a sudden that ball gets on top of you. Hard smash and spins him around, but came up, fires home. He's out.
And the Cardinals need a 2-out hit from Patrick Wisdom. He's got 3 home runs this spring. Hitting .316, and they will shift here with Wisdom. All kinds of room on the right side. Singleton is holding the runner, and the second baseman on the shortstop side of the bag.
Playing him to pull in the infield and a little bit the other way in the outfield. Big gap out in left center. Left fielder well off left field line.
He just poked the ball through the right side. Here's a 1-0.
Especially when you hold on that runner there.
One ball, 1 strike, 2 outs, runners at first and third. 6-3 Cardinals had a chance to really bust this game open in the inning. Bader came up, second and third, nobody out. Popped out to the second baseman. Moments ago, DeYoung with the hard hit ball to third to play at the plate. Two balls and a strike. Wisdom fooled by that pitch. Buckled his knees.
That's what I'm saying. You can't really tell if it's a splitter or nothing, but really change of speed. Patrick looks like a much more confident hitter this year.
The 2-2. Hit to short. Across the diamond to Singleton. Cardinals strand 2. They cannot cash in after the first 2 reached. We played 7, and it's 6-3 St. Louis. Against the Chicago Cubs. Looking forward to that Tuesday night in St. Louis. That'll be game 2, and when we start, Austin Gomber, your new pitcher, fires to first and throws wide. Applin on his way to second base in this 6-3 game. Austin Gomber, the 4th round selection in 2014 out of FAU. Big kid, 6'5", 240 pounds.
They like him as a rotation guy, and he's pretty interesting. 23 years of age. You know, that Florida Atlantic. They've got several of those, including one right here in the complex. Rogers Dean.
Here's Tyler Heineman, and he looks at a strike. Gomber features a 4-seam fastball around 90-92, a changeup 83-84, and his curve is described to me by a few folks that have seen him a lot, more of a slurve. So they've really asked him to make it a true 12-6 curveball and work on that. Wisdom. He's got a strong arm. You can see that over at third.
Well, we've talked about Patrick Wisdom, who you had Carson Kelly, Piscotty, and Wisdom, all 3 drafted as third baseman. They made Carson Kelly a catcher, Piscotty a right fielder. They kept him, Patrick Wisdom, at third, and he's got the strongest arm.
So here is J.D. Davis. Runner stays put at second base. That's Applin. 2015, Austin Gomber made 22 starts for Peoria, and he was the organization's minor league pitcher of the year. That's Class A of the Midwest League. He went 15-3 with a 2.67 ERA. That's good in itself, but what really stood out, that season he walked a total of 34 batters. 2016, he started at Palm Beach, finished at AA Springfield. Throws a lot of strikes. He's walked under 3 per 9 in his pro career. Pitched in the Arizona Fall League, pitched well there. But again, really asking him to improve the breaking ball coming into this camp. The 2-0 is hit down the left field line, but foul.
like the fact that he's made some all-star teams, Midwest League, Florida State League. One point in 2015, won 14 straight game decisions. On his way to winning 15 games.
Fourth pitcher used by the Cardinals. Waka, Broxton, Harris, and Gomber. You get a look at Derek Lilliquist. A lot of the former players have been back down here at camp, and one of them that will be here shortly is Chris Carpenter, Cardinal Hall of Famer and one of the great pitchers in franchise history.
Wish we'd see more of him.
I concur. He's got a couple young kids, and you know he's being a dad right now, but what a professional in all types of ways. When you look at what he brought to this organization on the field, in that dugout, mentoring young players. You know, really, Todd Hollinger was doing the game with me yesterday, and he said, man, Chris Carpenter was just filthy when you faced him. And he said, I see a lot of him in certain guys that are on this team. And I said, well, it's a good pickup by you, because he kind of handed the torch to some of the guys we see now, Wainwright, namely.
And of course, you know, there were all the guys before, you know, that taught Chris Carpenter.
There's guys like Roger Clemens and David Wells when he was in Toronto.
You know, Woody Williams. Woody really came over here and did a great job with the mental aspects and teaching a lot of guys how to be a tough competitor.
3-2. High chopper to third. Wisdom looks back the runner again, and the out. Right before that pitch, you could see Carson Kelly put out his left hand and clearly trying to alert the left side of the infield of location, what the pitch might be ready for a ground ball. And he got it. See it right there.
Yeah, and you got a left-hander on the mound that's throwing off-speed stuff, so that's going to mean they're going to pull it. So that was his indication to tell pretty much Wisdom and DeYoung, third and short, that more than likely his ball is going to be pulled.
Here's Teoscar Hernandez.
Think about when Ozzie and Pendleton were on the left side of the infield, and the Cardinals had 3 left-handed starters.
They were busy. Hernandez with a fly ball into right. And Gomber, after the first man reached, gets the next 3. Good work out of the pen. Cardinals on top. Hall of Fame. Be a part of the fan voting process. Submit your vote. 7-man ballot at cardinals.com/HOM. Carlton, Hernandez, Izzy, Tim McCarver, Big Mac, Edgar Renteria, and Scott Rowland, all part of the Cardinals Hall of Fame potentially this year. It's really turned out to be an incredible weekend in St. Louis in August to see the Hall of Famers and the ceremony and all the Cooperstown Hall of Famers are in attendance as well.
Well, you look at here, you see all the World Series and all the pennants the Cardinals have won, and then you think about all the players that were so good and so instrumental in St. Louis, and this will be the 3rd year of the Cardinal Hall of Fame. Every one of those 7 are deserving, and I'll predict that every one of them eventually will be selected. But two out of that 7 will be selected this year.
There's C.J. Riefenhauser. He has 20 innings in the big leagues. Last stint coming 2 seasons ago with the Tampa Bay Rays. Cubs removed their former 20th round pick from their 40-man roster in May and then released him. Popped up by Anthony Garcia into left, and the catch is made for the first out. Brings in Valera. So Valera is listed in the top 20 of prospects in Baseball America. It's all about offense with him. Cardinals feel he is big league ready defensively. He can play second. Primarily a second baseman, but can play all over the infield. He's in the top 20 of Cardinal prospects, according to Baseball America. Pitch taken high, 2 balls and no strikes. Sokolovich starts to throw in the Cardinals' pen. And Miguel is out of options, so he's got to make the club or the Cardinals would more than likely lose him. 3-0. Valera
Split time between Springfield AA and Memphis AAA. Hit 341 at AAA. So take a look at Sokolovich.
High strike, 3-1. Even in spring training, the fans boo the home plate umpire. And there's ball 4. This will be Chad Huffman. We'll get a look at him. Huffman came in as a pinch runner for Jose Martinez after he singled back in the 6th.
Huffman, close ties with Matt Carpenter.
TCU, correct?
Well, but not only that, I think they played together in Little League, high school, and in college.
He is running. That's Valera. Throw down to second, and he's in there safely.
So the Cardinals have 1 steal tonight after 2 attempts. Valera right in there. High throw. Not a particularly good throw or strong throw. For a team that wants to run in spring training, the Cardinals have been successful 9 times and caught 8 times.
Last year, the Cardinals ran wild in spring training. And they had 28 stolen bases last spring.
And they had 35 for the year.
And that was last in the National League and fewest since 1953 for a Cardinals club. 1 ball and 1 strike. And Piscotty and Wong had 14 of those steals. Into center field, Valera showing that he will tag. At least draws a throw. Throw is offline, cut off. And there's 2 down.
But Dan, that's all you got to do is get behind the ball. You know, if you're the outfielder, you act like you're going to come up and firing, show that you're going to come up, and that'll stop a lot of base runners. Just if you do it fundamentally, get rid of the ball quickly.
So runner at second, and it brings in Tommy Pham. Pham today struck out twice and also flied out to right. Average now this spring at an even 200. Takes a good hack there and fouls it back for strike one. Tommy last year in 78 games with the Cardinals in the Major League Club hit .226 and had 9 home runs. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Make it 0-2.
There was a couple that stopped here up in the booth, was being escorted by one of the guards, and they're from Milwaukee, but big Cardinal fans. And they were talking about that weekend that Tommy Pham had in Milwaukee last year.
There wasn't anybody on the planet that was going to get him out. Incredible.
I said he went to work, and everybody there go, who's Pham?
Right. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
One of the better athletes on the team, but just never could stay healthy.
Mentioned that they're former players in camp. He's pretty close to Ryan Ludwig. Those two went to the same high school in Las Vegas, and Ryan, of course, enjoyed a all-star campaign with the Cardinals and has been hired as a special assistant to John Mozeliak. And those two have become very close. The 2-2 pitch. Ground ball that's hit to second. And Pham hitless in 4 plate appearances today. We head to the 9th, and the Cardinals have the lead. It's 6-3. Or Whitey. Now you can. Budweiser Bash VIP tickets are still available for April and May Tuesday night games and feature these Cardinals legends and more. Details or to purchase tickets, visit cardinals.com/budbash. That's when you're a Hall of Famer. You have one name. Red, you know who Red is. Whitey Herzog. Lou, great Lou Brock.
I've had one name at times, but we couldn't use it.
Here's Miguel Sokolovich. Sokolovich was signed as a minor league free agent by the Cardinals in the winter of 2014. And Alejandro Garcia pops it up on the first pitch. And the catch is made by DeYoung. And all he's done, Miguel, is get people out. I mean, opponents only hit 192 against him, but he's never really stuck in the Cardinals' pen. That may change this year. Out of options. There are 3 players that are currently out of options for the Cardinals that have a great chance to make the team. Sokolovich would be one. Tyler Lyons, who is injured with a knee surgery recovery, is number 2.
Garcia. Greg Garcia.
Greg Garcia. Here's John Singleton.
But I think you're absolutely right. I think Sokolovic has shown enough at the major league level the last couple of years that somebody else would take him. You know, since entering the majors in 2012, he's limited opposing hitters to a career 192 batting average.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. Cardinals using the shift. Singleton got a base hit through that shift last time up. He was one of the Astros a few years ago. Remember, they were trying to give out big deals to young players, buy out arbitration seasons. And they thought he'd be a mainstay in their lineup.
Prospect to suspect.
1-1 pitch. There's that good changeup, and that's what Sokolovic possesses, a plus changeup.
Yeah, he really sells it with his arm action. And you see the way motion, it looks like it's going to be a power fastball, and then it just oozes out, and you're out in front. You keep that ball down, you don't get hurt by it.
Now the 1-2 pitch. Went with the fastball, missed down and in.
And his fastball isn't high octane, but he has a nice job of spotting it.
He'll hit 92, 93 with that. The 2-2 from Miguel Sokolovic. Count runs full. He was originally signed by the Red Sox at the age of 16. He'll turn 31 on June 24th. 3-2 pitch. Struck him out.
Well, you see when the fastball, if you're up there guessing and looking for the changeup, you can't adjust to it. That 91, 92 mile an hour fastball.
Next telecast will be noon on Wednesday. That'll be a shared feed with the Minnesota Twins. Rick Horton will be the analyst, and Dick Bremer will bring you the play-by-play. Jake Mayfield, the final hope here for Houston. And that's a strike. Oh, 0-2.
So everyone's all right with that one.
Yeah. No balls, 2 strikes here in the top of the ninth. 6-3. Cardinals with the lead. Blues hockey later tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. The Blues begin an all-important road trip in Los Angeles. And the 0-2 pitch. In the dirt. Good example there of Carson Kelly, rated as the top defensive catcher in the minor leagues in all of baseball. The job that he does blocking balls. They say that he is terrific in that aspect.
He's earned an awful lot. There you see that ball in the dirt.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Hit out of play. Miguel last year just 15 appearances for the Cardinals, 45 with Memphis.
He's had 326 minor league appearances and 40 starts. Pretty much the reliever at the big league level.
1-2 pitch. In the air out to shallow right. This should do it. And the catch is made by Valera, and the Cardinals win it by the final of 6-3. We'll wrap it up in a moment. Cardinals hold on for a 6-3 win over the Houston Astros.